Hey, it's Saturday, June 6th, 2026. Settle in with your coffee. This is Newspresso. I'm Nisha.
And I am Aditya. We've got a lot to get through, so let's just dive in before the world gets even weirder.
Okay, this one feels like the kind of story where the map matters as much as the headlines. The US says it intercepted the sanctioned tanker MT Davina in the Indian Ocean. And that image alone says a lot about how far this conflict is reaching.
Yeah, this isn't just a land story anymore. We've got Tehran's forces pressing a naval blockade around the Strait of Hormuz and Washington countering with its own blockade and actions against vessels tied to Iran's oil trade. Honestly, who even wants to be a shipping company right now?
Not me, that's for sure. And the scary part is how many layers are colliding here. Lebanon, Iran, the US, oil markets, shipping routes.
Right, and Hezbollah rejecting the US brokered ceasefire proposal just pours more fuel on it. They want a full Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon, and they are threatening renewed strikes if that doesn't happen.
And meanwhile, the US-Iran talks over an interim peace deal are basically stuck. Iran wants a ceasefire in Lebanon first, while the US wants a broader truce and the reopening of Hormuz.
Which is the part that hits everyone, not just the region. Hormuz is such a key artery for global oil that even the hint of disruption nudges Brent and WTI around.
Exactly. And for regular people, this is the ugly practical layer. Higher prices at the pump, possible travel disruption, and that constant feeling that the next escalation is always one message away.
Okay, moving on, but still in the same general, the world is on edge category.
The US Trade Office is now proposing tariffs of 10% to 12.5% on 60 economies over imports linked to forced labor. I mean, at this point, trade policy is basically a pressure cooker with paperwork.
It is a huge net though. 54 economies would face 12.5%, including India, China and Singapore, and 10% would apply to Canada, Mexico, the EU and others.
And the legal footing matters here too. They're leaning on Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 after previous reciprocal tariffs were struck down by courts. So this is not just a policy tweak, it's a pretty deliberate workaround.
The stated goal is to push partners to stop goods made with forced labor from entering supply chains. But the critics are worried this could turn into broad protectionism and distort markets.
Yeah, and the timing is very not subtle. Temporary 10% tariffs tied to older actions expire on July 24. Hearings are set for July 7, and the agency is still weighing public comments.
So countries have a window, but not a huge one. And the names in the list are all over the place. Canada, the UK, India, Japan, Vietnam.
Singapore, New Zealand and Vietnam have already flagged concerns too. I do get the argument about forced labor, but you can see why allies are nervous about the spillover into exports and everyday supply chains.
Yeah, because once trade costs move, regular people feel it fast, even if the debate is happening in legal language and hearing rooms.
Alright, that's the geopolitics and trade double hit. Let's switch to politics, which somehow also has no shortage of drama.
A rain-soaked political mess, basically. The DMK is skipping the June 8 India bloc meeting in New Delhi after saying Congress betrayed it by backing TVK to form the Tamil Nadu government.
Politics really does love a dramatic staging choice. Even the speaker approving DMK MPs to sit apart from Congress feels like one of those visual clues that tells you the relationship is not fine.
No, it really doesn't. And the story here is that TVK surged after the Tamil Nadu Assembly results, while Congress gave it ministerial berths and a Rajya Sabha seat, which clearly angered DMK.
And then BJP people show up saying the India bloc is dead and buried. Very on brand for the let me declare the whole thing over school of political commentary.
Still, the bigger issue is opposition unity. If DMK is pulling away like this, that's not a small crack, especially ahead of elections.
Sanjay Raut and TVK leaders are also reading this as a bigger shift in Tamil Nadu and national politics. So this is not just one party being annoyed. It's an alliance looking shaky.
What I think matters is DMK saying it'll still raise national issues and work with other partners on things that matter. So this may not be a clean exit, but it is definitely a rethink.
Yeah, and the question now is whether this becomes a formal split or just a very loud, very public cooling off period.
And for voters, that's the real thing. If the India bloc is supposed to be the main counterweight, every internal rupture changes how credible that looks.
Okay, shifting gears from alliance politics to markets, because investors also had their own little emotional day.
The RBI kept rates at 5.25%, cut its growth outlook, and the market response is basically thanks, we hate it. The Sensex ended down 116.67 points at 74,243.34, and the Nifty fell 49.85 points to 23,366.70.
That's one of those days where the intraday swing tells the whole story, right? The Sensex moved between around 74,717 and 73,989 before settling lower.
Exactly. Traders were juggling local and global risks, especially West Asia tensions, higher energy costs, and supply chain strain.
The RBI also kept a neutral stance and tried to soothe things with measures to attract foreign capital and support the rupee, tax relief for some investors, plus hedging subsidies for offshore borrowings.
Which is very we are calm, please remain calm energy. But the market still had more decliners than gainers, and names like Trent, TCS, Tata Steel, NTPC, HCL Tech, and Bharti Airtel were among the laggards.
At least some parts held up. Hindustan Unilever, Axis Bank, Adani Ports, and Bajaj Finance were among the gainers at times. Sectorally, though, metals, telecom, and energy were under pressure.
And it all loops back to the same external anxiety we were just talking about. Oil, conflict, supply chains, it all feeds into growth and inflation expectations.
Exactly. So even a steady RBI decision doesn't feel steady to the market if the backdrop keeps shifting.
Right. Investors are basically staring at policy commentary and oil prices like they're the next episode drop.
Which honestly fair.
Now for a story that's a lot harder to joke through.
Yeah, this one really got to me. At Prasad Hospital in Muzaffarpur, a fire broke out in the ICU on the 5th floor, and 5 people are confirmed dead, with many more injured.
And the part that makes your stomach drop is that around 20 to 24 patients had to be evacuated, mostly from the ICU, where oxygen and ventilators made everything harder.
Exactly. When that kind of ward catches fire, every second becomes a problem. District officials also say hospital staff allegedly fled as the fire took hold, which is just devastating if true.
Authorities think a short circuit may have sparked it, but the investigation is still ongoing, so we don't fully know everything yet, but the immediate picture is already awful.
The state government has announced 4 lakh ex gratia for the families of the deceased and said the injured will get treatment. Muzaffarpur District Magistrate Subrat Kumar Sen coordinated the rescue and shifted ICU occupants to other facilities.
And the bigger issue is the same one that keeps coming back after these hospital fires: safety systems that should already be there. Bihar's Fire Services Chief is warning about seals and audits for non-compliant venues.
Right. And the Health Minister and CM are talking accountability and tighter safety rules. But families need more than vows. They need hospitals that actually work when something goes wrong.
Real talk though, the scariest part is how familiar this pattern feels. Regular audits, electrical maintenance, evacuation protocols, all the boring stuff that suddenly becomes life or death.
Exactly. And that's why the story lands so hard. It's not abstract at all.
Okay, let's move to sports, which is at least a different kind of chaos.
Bad news for India. Kohli is out of the Afghanistan ODIs after scans showed a distal semimembranosus tendon tear from the IPL final.
That's a big miss. And it sounds like he'll rest for at least 2 weeks, which could even stretch into the last ODI.
Yup, so the batting order is suddenly open for a reshuffle and Gaikwad is the leading contender to take Kohli's number 3 spot.
He's been added to the India A squad earlier in June, right? So this isn't totally out of nowhere.
Exactly, and Patidar is also in the frame after captaining RCB to IPL titles, so selectors have a few moving pieces.
What makes it trickier is Rohit Sharma's fitness worries too. So it's not just one absence, it's a whole set of selection questions.
And the interesting part is the long view. They're thinking about a short test, then the ODI series, but also the future tours, and even the 2027 World Cup cycle.
That's why the talk about younger options like Jaiswal matters too. It feels like India is trying to protect the present without getting stuck in it.
Yeah, and if Kohli and Rohit both miss time, the selectors are going to have to be very intentional about balance. Not glamorous, just necessary.
Okay, and from one selection headache to another. But this one is more of a leadership reshuffle. The BCCI is set to announce India's next T20I captain and squad this Saturday in Mumbai. And Shreyas Iyer is tipped to take over from Suryakumar Yadav.
The captaincy carousel never sleeps. 1 minute it's settled, the next minute it's actually new era.
It's not just about this one tour though. The reports say this is part of a longer plan toward the 2028 Olympics and the next World Cup.
Yeah, and Tilak Verma is seen as a possible vice-captain with younger names like Vaibhav Suryavanshi in the picture too.
Excited! Vaibhav is only 15, which is wild even by cricket standards. That says a lot about how seriously they're looking at the next generation.
And the move seems coordinated by Ajit Agarkar and Gautam Gambhir, which means this isn't random. It's a reset with a point of view.
Still, some former players and pundits are split. Some like the reset, others don't want to move on from a World Cup winner too fast.
Fair, but the schedule is already stacked. Ireland and England's 2 T20Is in June, then a 5-match run in July, and later the Asian Games in Nagoya, Japan.
So India's basically building for multiple lanes at once, which is always the hard part. Do you stay with experience or push youth before the chemistry is ready?
And that brings us to the last cricket story, which is about exactly that kind of long-term bet. Gautam Gambhir has basically said Sai Sudharsan will bat at number 3 against Afghanistan and get a longer rope.
I actually like that framing. It sounds like the team is trying to stop treating number 3 like a temporary parking spot.
Exactly. Gambhir is pointing to Sudarshan's IPL season, 722 runs, as proof he deserves a real chance in tests.
And he's also making the point that judging someone on just 4 or 5 tests is too quick, especially when the top order has been unsettled since Pujara's exit.
Right. Since then, they've tried different people there, Washington Sundar, Jurel, and others, and nothing has fully stuck.
So Sudarshan getting a longer run, with Padikkal waiting his turn, is really about stability, not just one match.
And India's broader aim is still balance. They've got Sri Lanka and New Zealand tours coming later, plus spinner depth and focus for Sri Lanka's visit.
This is one of those stories where you can feel the team trying to solve an old problem instead of just kicking it down the road.
Yeah, and if Sudarshan works out, it could be a pretty important anchor for Gill at number 3. If not, well, cricket will keep doing cricket things.
That is the most accurate summary imaginable.
Alright, that's us for today on Newspresso. Thanks for hanging out with us and stay tuned, we'll be back soon.
Bye for now and seriously, stay tuned to Newspresso.